This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
The TalkSport Fan Network is proud to be partnering with Lotto from the National Lottery. All right, listen up. Lotto is the original millionaire maker. With draws every Wednesday and Saturday, you could become the next Lotto millionaire. How good would it be if you were next to win the Lotto jackpot? You can get involved and play this Saturday, so don't forget to buy your ticket by 7:30 p.m. You never know. Will you be the next millionaire? Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
We're BetMGM Sports and Casino. We know things aren't always golden. That's why we offer you the tools to keep your place safe. Set timeouts to always ensure you take a break when you feel like you need it. Set reality checks so you know exactly how long you've been playing. And set deposit limits to help control what you spend. Stay golden with BetMGM. Play responsibly.
18 plus.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Hi and welcome to another edition of The Away End. I am joined this evening by Cobblers fan Charles Commons, who is from the It's All Cobblers to Me podcast. So, Charles, first of all, thank you very much for joining.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Craig. It's a pleasure to be here. I enjoy doing things like this. It's always fun.
Excellent.
Talking to other fans.
So, a week off for ourselves in terms of league games. 2 games, though, during that period of time for Birmingham. First one, fantastic and magnificent 7-1 win over the Fulham under-21s in the Bristol Street Motors Cup, followed by a hard-fought 1-0 victory in the FA Cup at the weekend over Sutton United. Whilst yourselves as Cobblers, you've had 3 games in between. Starting off, I think, with a 2-1 defeat against Lincoln. I don't know whether I should say this, but I've got to get it out of the way. The weekend's local derby defeat in the FA Cup to Kettering Town. But a good, solid victory in the Bristol Street Motors Cup has followed that on. So it's going to be good as we go into the game and looking forward to it. So Birmingham, top of the league. Or actually probably second at this point in time due to Wycombe playing ahead of us. And yourselves, I think, 15th at the last time I saw. So, firstly, tell us a bit about what to expect from Northampton. You know, taking into account, we've actually only played each other 4 times over the years. Our last game was a 2-2 back in 1990 in the league. So been a while since we've played each other, but a lot of links between the clubs, which we'll come on to with players and some management. But tell us what to expect going into the weekend from Northampton's side. How do you set up? What are your key players and strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, I mean, if we start with the weaknesses are the most obvious, and that's the fact that we've got 11, maybe 12 players unavailable for the game on Saturday. Wow. Yeah, it's not great, and a lot of those, I think 6 of those are long-term-ish injuries. There's at least 2 that are out for the whole season, I think. Callum Morton, who we'd signed on loan from Salford at the beginning of the season, he has, I think, done his ACL. I think that's what it is that he's out with. Not pleasant at all, not good. And Luke Mbete may well be out for quite some time as well, potentially. And again, it's maybe another ACL. We know he's had surgery. I don't know whether or not he'd actually ever come back to us. He's on loan from us from Man City. So it's highly doubtful that if that is the end of his season, that we'd ever see him in a Cobblers shirt again, unfortunately, despite him being really, really good in the games that he's played against us. I mean, that's left us with, I think it's about 15 first teamers or, you know, lads that you would qualify as being in and around the first team on at least a regular basis. We've got plenty of youth that can come through and can obviously make up the numbers on the bench. But that doesn't particularly help us, especially when we're coming up against you guys at St Andrews. It couldn't really come at a worse time in that respect. I would say.
You're saying that. I'm thinking it's a positive for us. So it swings and roundabouts.
It is. I mean, I think, look, the obvious thing to say here is that you're the clear favourites, as you probably are for every single match that you play in League One this season, especially with the way that you've started the year. So we're under no illusions of the task that will be ahead of us. I mean, the one thing that I will say is it would be the most cobblers thing in the world to go out of the FA Cup to local non-league Kettering on Saturday and then follow it up with a result against Birmingham. I'm not going to say a win, but a result against Birmingham where it's just not expected whatsoever. We normally play with 4 at the back. We have been known to play with a 3-5-2 as well, although I don't think any of us Cobblers fans really like it when we play 3 centre backs. We always prefer though the 4 with fullbacks, essentially. Well, if we set up the way that, I mean, realistically, it'll probably be the same team that started against Kettering, which isn't on paper at this moment in time the thing that fills you with confidence. However, we will obviously go into it. It is a league game. It's a different type of game where we're up against different quality opposition. And for us, the tables are turned on Saturday because of the fact that we will be David this time around, whereas we were Goliath in the FA Cup. So you never know. We could raise to the same levels that Kettering played against us to play against you. And you never know what's going to happen in football. Thankfully, that's why we love it so much, I think. So who knows what will happen. But yeah, we'll probably start with the same or reasonably same team as what we had on Saturday. We might see a return to goal for Lee Burge. He was, I suppose, rested. I'm not going to say he was dropped for that game against Kettering. It was the only change that we actually made, or unforced change, I should say, that we made from the previous game to then play Kettering, so the Lincoln game. So Lee Burge came out and Zanev went in goal. He was also in goal on Tuesday night as well against Leicester under-21s. But Lee Burge is our number 1 and has been for the last couple of seasons, so he will probably come back in between the sticks. And then it will be John Guthrie and Jack Baldwin, most likely, as our centre-back partnership. With right back will potentially be our new signing, Ioma, who was coming on a free transfer just before that game at the weekend. He played a good sort of 60 or 70 minutes, I think, on Tuesday night it was, and put in a fairly decent showing, to be fair. So he may well start at right back. Otherwise, it may well be Akin Odemeo, who has been our regular right-sided fullback. On the left is always a bit of a question mark. Most of those injuries I talked about, all left backs. There is some sort of curse on that position with this season. We've been joking that every time a player goes to fill in at left back, even when it's halfway through a game on the pitch and they're just filling in at that position because the actual left back has gone forward or something like that, we joke that we always look at them and think, oh, he's just tweaked his hamstring a little bit there. He's just felt something just because he's moved to left back. So that's always quite funny. So it's kind of it's going to be a bit obvious who will play. It'll be Nesta Guinness-Walker that will most likely play there. He didn't have the best of games against Kettering, but he's quite attack-minded. Yeah. But he's also got a solid defensive brain on him. He's one of those players that, again, has come in on a free transfer after the season started and the window had closed. And he's one of those players that actually now we've seen him play, you sort of go, well, why didn't anyone pick him up in the summer? Yeah. Because he obviously is quite good and he's probably better than at least 2 of the players that we already had in that position. But I guess it's, just the way things are in
It's
the football
always the case,
finance
though, isn't it?
aspect.
You
Yeah.
always get a player that you've not heard of that breaks through and actually can stand out a mile. And like you say, why has nobody else snapped them up? The
Mm.
only problem is when they're performing like that and it's standing out within a team, it puts them in the window for January or if not the summer. So
Yeah.
it's experiencing it as Birmingham fan in the past. That's exactly what we've had. Loans did all of a sudden have been recalled or have been taken to other clubs because they've done so well. So yeah, I feel your pain, and you talk about the injury curse, but yeah, boy, have we experienced it in the past. And touch wood, it's not happened this season so far.
Yeah, it's been horrible for us for about the last 3 years. We always have a horrendous amount of players on the injury table, and it's just I don't know. There is no, if we're being fair and honest about it, there's no root cause to it. It's not like they're all coming down with the same injuries. Some are happening in games like Callum Morton. It was a tackle that occurred on the pitch, and you can't foresee that happening. There's no way of stopping it.
No,
Same with Luke Mbete. He just went down in the challenge, and you can't do anything to negate that happening at all. So it's just one of those things. I know that some of Cobblers fans are sort of questioning training methods and things like that. And if it was everybody getting the same injury, then maybe you do point
yeah,
towards things like that. But I think that, when you calm down and you think about it rationally and you look at it, injuries are on the rise across the English pyramid. The
whole
way
lot
that the
changed.
game has been,
Yep.
it's so much faster now. The players that especially John Brady likes to bring in, his type of player, they are essentially the ones probably most susceptible to picking up injuries. They're the strong, powerful athlete. And so, they're gonna do things like pull a hamstring or, any kind of other muscle that might happen and get a tweak because of the fact that they've got that sheer power and acceleration to them.
Indeed.
And it just makes people like that more susceptible. Or at least that's what the sports science tells us.
It's
So
been the same. I mean, at Birmingham, we went through a spell of getting injuries that were either muscle tweaks or hamstrings. And when they looked into it more, it wasn't down to actually the training. It was down to, well, they say it was down to where they were training and the fact that the pitch was boggy, it was tight, it was tough to turn on and things like that. And we have moved training grounds since, and things have eased. So it could well be down to that. But also, I do agree. The game is completely different now. It's no longer about the let's slow it down and knock a ball around. It's more of we've got to have the pace to break forwards. We've got to get up front. We've got to be on the front foot all the time. And the high press that comes out of a hell of a lot of teams exists. But so does like the passing out and playing football from the back, which some teams hate. I am far to be persuaded that it is the best way to play football. But you do see some decent stuff as well occurring. You've mentioned your goalkeeper in defence. What's midfield and strike force like? Because obviously teams, in the league as we're seeing, some are free flowing and scoring goals for fun. Others struggle, but actually can hold a midfield really well. So what's it like for yourselves across the middle and then up front?
I don't really know if it's either of those two things that you've just mentioned, to be honest with you. It's one of those. We've got a fairly settled midfield. So what we tend to try and do is play with a midfield three. So you'll have two defensive midfielders and then an attacking one in the sort of the number 10 role. And then you'll have high attacking wingers with a lone striker ahead of the attacking midfielder. So it depends who he goes for. We've got a lad on loan from Brighton under 21s who is called Sammy Shoeshane. He basically, he's come through the same academy that Mark Leonard came through.
Yeah.
He, therefore there is that little bit of a expectation, I guess, in him, following in Leno's footsteps with us. He is it's obvious to me that it's his first time out on loan in the EFL and playing, this level of football. That's not to say he won't come good and that there's not a good footballer in there. He will put his foot on it and he will pass it really well. And you can see he's got really good vision. It's just sometimes he maybe dwells on the ball a bit too long and therefore either rushes his pass so it doesn't reach his player, or he gets closed down and he'll lose the ball.
The learning curve, though, I think, for the youngsters is exactly that. And they all say it, but you can't gain the experience unless you're playing it in that sort of a situation. And also, sometimes you got to put people in the deep end in order to see whether they can cope or not. So, again, can think of many players that have been at our club that have gone through that exam situation, and some people have just sank. You never see them again, and it's all downhill. Whereas others thrive. And as we'll come on to, Stansfield in a bit, he's one of those that we've seen thriving.
So Soucek may well be. It will be 2 out of these 3 players. So it will be Sammy Soucek, Jack Sowerby, who he's like our stalwart, essentially. He's been with the club for a number of years now. He is one of those players that you don't notice when he's there, but you really notice when he's not there, if that makes sense. He's we nickname him the Crab because he only likes to pass it sideways, and I don't know if it'll be in the highlights from the game, but when the game was still 0-0 against Leicester under 21s on Tuesday night, he actually picked the ball up and went round the goalkeeper, had an open goal, and instead of just passing it into the net, which was an open goal, he chose to square it to Tyler Roberts. No idea why. Tyler Roberts got surrounded instantly by the goalkeeper and about 5 defenders, and he couldn't get his shot off. So that chance went begging. It was the crabbiest crab thing that the crab could ever crab. Is essentially the way that I described it on our social media account at the time that it happened. It was absolutely ridiculous. But he's kind of like the...
Yo, UK! At BetMGM, we give our players sports betting entertainment like nobody's business. Football, horse racing, darts, boxing, tennis, golf, NFL, NBA. You name it, we got it. Offers? You know it. Bet £10 and get £40 in free bets. BetMGM, it's showtime.
New customers only. Exclusions apply. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
The TalkSport Fan Network is proud to be partnering with Lotto from the National Lottery. Picture this, the perfect Saturday. You wake up, meet up with your mates, and watch your team score all the goals and secure those all-important 3 points. And then, just when you think it can't get better, bam, you become the next Lotto millionaire. Now that's a day you'd never forget. Lotto is the original millionaire maker. Will you be next? Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
I suppose he's the most trusted of John Brady's midfield options. And then you've got Ben Fox, who is, to look at him, the only thing he needs to do to look like a proper old-fashioned 1970s-esque footballer is to tuck his shirt in. That's the only thing left for him to do. He's got black boots. He's got his socks all the way up. He's got proper shin pads on. His shorts are around his waist as opposed to hanging low near his knees. He wears a T-shirt with no Under Armour gear underneath, with no skin top. He's got a bit of a Lockish style haircut, but he makes sure it's well kept and it's tied up and it's nice and neat and tidy for the game. And he's also he's like our little Rottweiler, if you like, in that midfield. He will just chase and chase and chase. It will be 2 out of those 3 that play there. On the wings, this is the bit where it starts to get a little bit difficult. On the left, easy pick, Tyreek Fosu. He has been an amazing find by John Brady. He's been out of the game, actually, a little while. He got injured playing for, I think, Brentford. Didn't get his contract renewed. Couldn't find a club. Maybe that was a wages issue. But he's come to us on a 1-year contract, and he's one of the most exciting prospects that we've ever seen in a Cobblers shirt, to be honest. Most people will remember him from his time at Brentford. He was in their team that went up from the Championship to the Premier League. He was in their playoff campaign. I think he was even maybe with them in League One when they got promoted to the Championship, maybe. He was a really good Championship player, at least. And you can tell that he's playing down a level at the moment. He'll definitely, I would imagine, start. He didn't feature at all on Tuesday night. He'll be in the side. And then we start to get to the problems with who's going to play because we've got so many injuries. In terms of the right, we've been playing Mitch Pinnock for the last few games. But that's been more out of necessity, I think, rather than because he's the first choice to go there. I think we would normally see Sam Hoskins play on the right. He's had a knee niggle, is the official term that we've been given by the football club. So he could well be back, but then again, we don't know because we never get told anything about injuries and how long we should expect them to be out for. Mitch Pinnock is good, but he's not the quickest. He can put a cross in. He's struggled, I think, this season so far to get up to his best. He admits that he's a slow starter every single season, but this season it is really taking its toll. And I think the problem that Mitch has got at the moment is the fact that we've got Fosu on the other side, who is fantastic. And he's just, whereas Mitch Pinnock, when we were in League Two, was one of, if not our best player, other than maybe Sam Hoskins, who scored so many goals for us. Now he's been completely overshadowed by much better players that have come in. So it will probably be, if Sam's not fit, it will be Mitch Pinnock out on the right. However, I will say that they'll probably swap quite fluidly, Fosu and Pinnock with the wings. For the attacking midfielder, the number 10 role, this depends on whether Tyler Roberts is cleared to play. Now, I don't think he will be. It would be... The normal thing would be that the parent club of a loanee would not allow them to play against them. And I completely understand that. But again, we've not been told. And you would just think that that's an obvious thing that you could tell the fan base because it's not going to affect how the opposition then work out because they'll already know that he can't play if that's the case. So there's a little bit of in there thinking maybe he's being allowed to. Obviously, we're going to go with the fact that he probably won't. So therefore, it'll be Cameron McGeehan, who he signed from Colchester in the summer. He scored 10 goals from midfield last year in League Two. He's already our top goal scorer this season. I think he's got 5, maybe 6 now for the season. So it's been a good start for him. He was a player that actually started off really well, was playing in the Championship and then got an injury. Got released from his Championship club. Forgive me, I can't remember who it was. And he then went abroad, went to Europe and rekindled his career there, moved to Colchester, had a good season with them and has then signed for us. He is your essential arrive late player in the box. That's how he scores his goals. He arrives late. He's in the right place at the right time to just... I think most of his goals are tap-ins. The only other one that stands out is, I think it was our first goal against Huddersfield. It was a really nice low shot from just inside the area after Fosu had broken and pulled the ball back to him. That was a nice finish. The rest of them are all fairly simple tap-ins. They're great goals to score. I'm not taking that away from him. They just don't look the prettiest, when you compare it to a 30-yard screamer.
The poacher that we all want.
Yeah, exactly. He's lovely. And then up front is anybody's guess because we don't have any fit strikers at all. Literally not a single one apart from Neo Dobson, who is a youth team player. He scored 2 goals on Tuesday night against Leicester under-21s. But he won't start and he won't even probably feature against you guys. If he was going to, he'd have played some minutes, if not all of the game against Kettering on Saturday, which is what most Cobblers fans were crying out for. I don't know why. Maybe he's just not ready yet. And that's not my call to make, and that's absolutely fine. But other than that, we have an incredibly unfit, only just come to the club, Martin Waghorn, who I'm sure you will know a lot about already. He's done the rounds in the Championship in League One before. So, but he looks like he's about 75 matches away from being fit. He came on for what should have been the last 15 minutes of the game on Saturday to try and see it out, but then we conceded and then it went to extra time and he had to play the rest of that as well. So he's probably played more minutes than he should have done already this week. Yep. So I highly doubt that he would be our starting striker for the day. As for the rest of them, Tom Eaves suffered a really nasty looking injury against Lincoln. Nothing, untoward happened. He went in for a header with a Lincoln City defender. And it looks like on the replay that essentially Eavesy has headed the defender's arm, maybe his shoulder. And either he's broken his nose or he's broken a cheekbone or the eye socket. Somewhere around there has been broken. So he's out. Callum Morton, as I mentioned earlier, won't play again this season. James Wilson, our other option, is out with a hamstring injury, I believe. That's our striker lineup. There you go. So it could well be that we go with someone like Liam McCarron, who started as our striker option on Saturday against Kettering, but he's diminutive. He's a winger, really. He can score, though. He's very quick, very, very skillful with his feet. So maybe we'll go with him up front on Saturday.
It'll be interesting. So, yeah. I mean, I want to test your knowledge a little bit. Just with the last couple of minutes before we sign off with a prediction. So, I normally say I want to name 5 players that have represented both clubs, but I think there are quite a few, and a few that you will remember. So I'll make it a little bit easier and just say, can you name 3? And 3 that over the years. I'm not, unfortunately, going to let you have Leno. I can't do it because you've mentioned him already.
Can I have Tyler Roberts?
You can't have Tyler Roberts either. No, you see, they were the 2. If you were going for 5, I'd have let you have them, but I can't do it.
Fair.
But I mean, to be honest, you should be able to go and get the other 3, and then I'll reel off the others. So, you can name 3 that have represented both clubs, whether that be a loan, a permanent move, or just actually have represented both clubs overall.
Okay. So are managers counting in this, or would that be a separate
one? We'll count the managers as well.
All right. That's fine. I mean, we'll go with players. So probably for Cobblers fans, the biggest hero of them all is John Frayne. What a man. He scored against Swansea for us in what was the Division 3 playoff final in 1997 in the final minute with a free kick, that was retaken. Legend of the club. John Frayne definitely played for both teams.
He did indeed. Captain for Birmingham and a friend of Tilton Talk as well. We've actually had him on, and he is a fantastic, fantastic guy.
Yeah. Another one from the same era, from the same team, Ian Clarkson.
From an early kickoff in the Sunday League to the final whistle at Wembley. From local heroes to international icons, groundsmen to gaffers, grassroots to golden boots. When it comes to football, it's everyone's game. Wherever you're listening across the UK, get your mates together with Carling, the beer of football. 18 plus, always drink responsibly.
Clarko, legend as well.
Yeah, he scored the following year in the semi-finals of the Division 2 playoff finals for us against Bristol Rovers. There's an iconic picture of him wheeling away with hands in the air just in front of the North Stand, where he would have been the and Bristol Rovers thought they were already through. So it was a very memorable night, that one, and for Ian to be part of it and to be remembered is always is always brilliant. He also, another, unfortunately, less memorable, but for less nice reasons, is that he broke his leg at Sixfields, and I think every single Cobblers fan of my age or older will remember it because you literally heard it happen. It was horrendous. But yeah, we've had both of those guys on the podcast, and they're both great lads. Both great lads. I suppose finally I'll go for Ian Atkins, who led us to those playoffs in '97 and '98. He was our manager, took over in, I think it was either '94 right at the end of that season, or it was '95 he took over, and he steered the club away from disaster, took us all the way through to achieving promotion into Division 2 and very close to getting promotion into Division 1 and what is now the Championship. Just couldn't quite get over the line.
And a legend for Birmingham as well. And you know, to name a few others that have represented and been, in fact, it's quite a list of loan transfer between the clubs. You've mentioned John Frayne already, but Paul Tate, Jerry Gill, both these friends of the show. Jerry Gill, what a gent. What a gentleman. Matty Sadler, again, friend of Tilton Talk. He represented both clubs. You had Kwasi Asante for a period on loan as well. And then going back through the years, and these are back in time, but 84, 85, Mark Kendall was at both clubs. Steve Bryant in 76 and 77. Going back even further, Ken Leake, 64, 65. And wow, this is, I've got to say, first time I've done it where it's gone back this far. But we actually have a player who played at centre-back for both clubs in 1910, 1911, who was by the name of Bob Bonthram. So quite a recognised list overall, but back over the years. So in the last couple of minutes, you come into St Andrews at Knighthead Park on Saturday for a game which will have another sellout attendance for ourselves. So a raucous atmosphere. Give us your prediction. And what does your head say and what does your heart say?
Oh, how many fans come on here, Craig, and say that they're going to win?
Do you know, in all honesty, I've had a few over the past few weeks, and one of them wasn't wrong because it was Charlton.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, my head. Let's go with my head first. My head says that we will get beaten. I'm not going to say that I think that we'll get outplayed and slaughtered or anything like that, because I'm sure that we will be up for it. We need a response, let's be honest, after Saturday. So I think it will be, my head says if we come away with like a 2-goal defeat, whether that's 2-0 or, 4-2 or 3-1, then I respectable. Okay. My heart says that we come to you and we bore you to death into a 0-0 draw. It really does. My heart. I mean, this is the thing with us football fans. You're on such a mega low after the sort of defeat that we had on Saturday. Indeed. And it takes you days and days and days to get over it. And you're like that going, I'm never going to go and watch them again. I can't do it anymore. This is rubbish. And then by the time the morning of the next game comes around, all of a sudden you're like, right, this is it. We're going to go out there and we're going to do brilliantly. That's how I think I will feel on Saturday morning. I think my heart just says that we'll put in a performance and that we will maybe get a result. 0-0, 1-1 maybe. I can see us if we get the first goal. I don't want to do what Wrexham did, which was awake the beast. Yep. But if we can maybe get the first goal really late on, sort of 75-minute plus mark, you'll have enough time to get back into it and get an equaliser, but hopefully we'll be able to restrict you enough so that only comes right near the end, and then it will feel like a defeat anyway.
Yeah.
I'm
going to go for, I think, a comfortable, should we say, 3-0 victory. You know, basing it on the way things are. I think we've got a few players that are not angered, but frustrated after the weekend's result. I think they will want to see more than one goal. The Sutton team set the stall out, which was they didn't want to concede by many goals, and they did that. They held us back. But I think it'll be the opposite on Saturday. And like I say, in front of a St Andrews full house, it's always the same. So I'm going to go with a 1-0. And on that, I would like to say, Charles, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the away end. It's been a pleasure talking to you. We'll do this again when we get to the game with yourselves again, and we'll see how things are going. But I'll sign off by saying thank you very much and keep right on.
Cheers, Craig.
Yo, UK! At BetMGM, we give our players sports betting entertainment like nobody's business. Football, horse racing, darts, boxing, tennis, golf, NFL, NBA. You name it, we got it. Offers? You know it. Bet £10 and get £40 in free bets. BetMGM, it's showtime.
New customers only. Exclusions apply. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
The TalkSport Fan Network is proud to be partnering with Lotto from the National Lottery. As all of our favourite players hit the field again, Lotto's ready to get you back in the game. You never know when it could be your turn to win, so why not play today and see if you could become the next Lotto millionaire? You never know when it's your day to win, and Lotto is a game that anyone could win. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.